welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing some test hands here for Relinquished. Now of course Relinquished is one of those kinds of decks where you actually do have to play second to actually make it effective. So I will be testing out some test hands actually going first, but with that being said, don't expect anything amazing to go with it. But I will actually be spending a bit more time on going second, as it is going to be the most ideal thing you want to do here. So with that being said, let's just get started with this. Alright, so as you can see here, not the most ideal hand at all, because we do have the Darlingtonia Cobra in our hand, so that's not what we want to see. And we have a preparation of rites. While it's actually amazing to have, it doesn't really go as effectively if you don't have anything in the graveyard. But we do have pre-prep here, so I definitely like that. So we just activate it, and we simply can add a Relinquished, of course, and our Black Illusion Ritual, which is just really easy, of course. So with that being said, we could easily just go for a Ritual Summon. So we could just activate the Black Illusion Ritual and get rid of one Relinquish to summon out the other, which is very nice. And then we could just go for a preparation of rites here, which is definitely nice still, because we could go for a level 7 or lower ritual monster. So in this particular scenario, we could just add, I guess, Relinquished from our deck to our hand. So we'll just look for it and see over here, and then we simply can just add back our Black Illusion Ritual, which is definitely very nice, of course. But with that being said here, you keep this in the hand, your opponent is definitely going to have certain things going for them. But as you can see here, just having the Relinquished alone is not going to do much. But you do have the Super Poly, which I think is quite brilliant, because firstly, you have a Dark Monster. So if your opponent summons out even one Dark Monster, you activate Super Poly, then you pretty much just go into your Starving Venom. Otherwise, if they bring out two Dark Monsters, you could bring out your Tryptophan. And of course, with that being said, you're just setting this here, and you've Relinquished and a Darlingtonia Cobra. You have plenty of targets in the hand anyway, and you could also just go for Millennium Eyes if necessary as well. And even then, it requires one effect monster, so you just use the Relinquished and you use one of your opponent's monsters, and you go into this. It's just really amazing. So with that being said, you are actually getting plenty of plays to actually work off this. The only issue is a matter of the fact that you can't actually do anything with this on the board at the moment, because of the fact that, well, the issue is you can't actually take anything because your opponent doesn't have anything. Not to mention, because you're making such minimalistic plays, you're not really forcing your opponent to do anything else. For example, if they had a Nibiru in the hand, they wouldn't really be able to pull it off. So with that being said, it kind of puts you in this really difficult situation. But of course, this is an example of us going first, so we're going to go second and see how things actually turn out. Alright, so over here we're going to be going second now, because this is the main intention of the deck itself. With that being said, we do have quite a few interesting options available for us here. Let's see, so firstly we do have the Ritual ready to go, and we could also just take one of our opponent's monsters as well. That's definitely really nice. Let's see here, I mean, we have Relinquished Fusion as well. I mean, this is really looking good, by the way. I think firstly we could easily just get rid of these two. Well, get rid of this at least. So we can activate the Black Illusion Ritual and then tribute off this, giving us our Relinquished. And from there you could immediately just take one of your opponent's monsters already, which is already quite brilliant. But with that being said, you could of course, let's see here, you could go for the preparation of rites, and this will obviously allow you to then search for another Relinquished, which is definitely very nice. And of course, with that being said, we could just add back the Black Illusion Ritual as well, which is fantastic, of course. With that being said, we could also just go for the Millennium Eyes Illusionist, which would be quite fantastic. So what I was thinking is, look, depending on what you're taking from your opponent, I mean, it really depends, right? So we could actually just go for the Relinquished Fusion right here, and we'll just fusion summon. I guess we'll get rid of the Relinquished itself, and we're just going to get rid of maybe the Millennium Eyes Illusionist. And with that being said, you could then just pretty much go for your Millennium Eyes, which is absolutely brilliant, of course. And yeah, I mean, this is already looking pretty decent anyway, because you're already going to take a bunch of monsters off your opponent, so it is definitely looking really good here. Because in this particular case, your opponent is now going to be afraid to activate certain effects, and you have quite a few things you could actually do here as well, a few contingency plans just in case certain things might occur. But with that being said, it's all about stealing your opponent's monsters, and that's pretty much the whole beauty of this deck. Alright, so here's something that is definitely very different. Puts me in quite a bit of a dilemma, but I think I could work things off with this. So first we'll go for the pre-prep, allowing us to add obviously our Relinquished and the actual spell itself. So let's look for it. Let's see, where is it? Black Illusion Ritual and our Relinquished. Very nice, of course. So since we have the extra copy of the Black Illusion Ritual, though I can't really do anything here, we could go for the Orpheus Scorpio and get rid of the Nibiru. I'm going to assume that the opponent doesn't have enough monsters for us to use Nibiru, but if you want, you could always just use Relinquished anyway. But either way, I'm just going to be using the Nibiru. This will allow me to actually go for our finally, for the first time, Darlingtonia Cobra, which will then allow us to add a fusion. So we do have Relinquished Fusion already in hand, so I was just thinking you could go for a Ritual Foregone, which is not necessarily the worst option, because, well, actually no, you can't go for Ritual Foregone because it's not a fusion spell, unfortunately. So you would be going for a Super Poly in this case, which is definitely very fantastic. Of course, you have plenty of fodder anyway. So in this particular case, Black Illusion Ritual allowing you to summon out the Relinquished, and you'll just tribute off one of the Darlingtonia Cobras. Definitely fantastic there. And from that, you essentially can take a monster, and we could just link this away and allow us to go for Anima, taking 2 monsters now. We could go for, over here, a Relinquished Fusion. This will allow us to then fuse the Relinquished, and we'll just go for an effect monster here, which would be the Orpheus Scorpio, and this will essentially allow us to go for our Millennium Eyes Restrict, potentially taking off one more monster, which is very nice, of course. We could then, after that, use this here, and I guess pretty much just target one effect monster from your opponent as well and attach it to one of your Relinquishes if you actually need to. So that's taking another monster. But the great thing is, during battle you could also just go for your Super Poly after you attack with these two, of course, and discard this and pretty much either fuse your own monsters, fuse your opponent's monsters, and do things in any kind of way whatsoever to go for the appropriate card. I love how the extra deck is actually now becoming a bit of a toolbox here, where it's like it's just a bunch of Super Poly targets, which is definitely fantastic. It just makes the deck so simple, of course. There is a few different alternative plays that you can make. For example, earlier you could have just used the Scorpio and the Darlingtonia Cobra to go for your Cross Sheep, which would definitely change things up, because as soon as you go for a fusion summon, you could then special summon back one of your monsters from the graveyard and then make plays from there. So you do actually have a few different options available, but it's more so just my suggestions as to what you could potentially do. But I hope you guys actually get the idea behind this whole deck. As you guys might have noticed in my extra deck, I did do a bit of adjusting, so this is why I have 2 copies of the Thousand Eyes Restrict and 2 copies here of the Millennium Eyes Restrict. It's just because the extra additions that I pretty much added on. But with that being said, I do hope you guys actually enjoyed this particular test stand video. I'm not trying to make this particularly I guess, meta relevant or anything like that. I'm just trying to exude a bit of fun with this particular deck. Sometimes it's good to take a bit of a break. Of course, it is still trying to adapt to the format itself, so I am still trying to make it viable, but I'm not trying to make it the best deck out there, because it is, regardless of how well you actually build this deck, you can't really make it into one of the top decks out there, no matter how much you tried, because it's just the general archetype itself that kind of holds itself back. And that is kind of true to a lot of other archetypes out there as well, where just by default they're not necessarily the top decks, but even with your best adjustments. But with that being said, this is something that I hope you guys will actually enjoy when you're actually playing. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, definitely drop a like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification as well. It really does help. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.